the domestic resources as a continent to unlock that. So talk to me a bit about whether there's need for the extent to which you can push the idea of debt treatment, and then how do we raise the type of financing we need to really unlock energy, green finance, and that type of thing?
Look, I was Chief Secretary to the Treasury in the UK, the Cabinet Minister responsible for public spending at the time in which we negotiated Nigeria's debt relief package. I was in the Treasury when we negotiated the HIPC deal with Ghana, the higher indebtedness.
Under President Kufuor.
Exactly. And at that time, the nature of the debt was very different from the nature of the debt today. We were dealing at that time largely with sovereign debt. Now we're dealing with debts where there is exposure to the private sector, where there's a much greater mix of debt, and we're not, and commercial, and we're not going to be able to handle it in the same way. But we're going to have to find, and the international multilateral organizations are going to have to be part of that conversation. We're going to have to find a way through that. But you know, what we can't do is to have a situation in which we aren't actually mobilizing resources successfully domestically. We have to ensure that our own tax systems in Africa are transparent and are effective and raise a revenue, both locally and nationally, and that we invest in the capacity to do that, which will require an element of digitalization, which will require us to understand the role of blockchain technology and the new developments in technology in making our tax collection more effective. And people will have to recognize that it's a civic duty to pay tax. But people will also want to know that their tax revenues are being used effectively and are not being siphoned off for the private wealth of a political elite. So what that means is that we're going to have to deal with corruption and inefficiency. What that means also is that we're going to have to invest in human capacity and in infrastructure, and that we're going to have to seek to mobilize both public and private resources, which is why private-public partnerships undoubtedly have a role to play. But you know, let's just take the issue of the extractive industries. Can we honestly say that Africa has benefited from oil, from gold, from diamonds, from rare earth minerals in the way that they should? No, we can't say that. Why is Obuasi in the state that it's in, and Johannesburg in the state that it's in? In Johannesburg, you see the benefits. True, there is still real inequality, but you see in terms of the infrastructure, the benefits of mineral extraction. You don't see the same in Obuasi. We are faced with an environmental disaster from artisanal mineral extraction in Ghana. So we've got to make sure that that Africa gets the benefits from oil, from rare metals, and from its mineral wealth. And that means organizing that better. It means combating corruption. It means getting a better deal on global markets. All things that are doable, but they require policy and focus and delivery.
It may also mean being accused of resource nationalism, where, for example, in some countries like Indonesia, they ban the export of tin. Or there could be the Botswanan way, where you have a 50-50 arrangement where the state adds value. The point for raw materials from Africa has been the export of them raw. What's your comment around adding value, developing the value chain, and financing that in a way that can still benefit from the global economy?
Developing the value chain is crucial. It's crucial, but it's not just crucial in relation to mineral wealth. We have to do the same in agriculture, you know. It would be a great shame if African economies were to simply believe that the future lies in mineral extraction. There's been no country, the US, the UK, Europe, Korea, Vietnam, China, Japan, there's been no country that has achieved development without an agricultural, a green revolution too. And the reality is